Hello, I'm Larry Walters, the host from Sickness to Health. Over the next several weeks, we are going to cover what I'd like to call the 10 habits of the longest living Americans. So stick around and learn more about these amazing principles that are changing people's lives all around the world. Just to give a little background on myself, I am founder of Clear Vision Coaching. I have over 20 years of experience as a speaker, trainer, and health coach. My mission is to educate, inspire, and empower individuals to cultivate a healthier lifestyle. This is done by leading individuals through the process of becoming aware, taking responsibility for and making choices that directly contribute to one's overall well-being, and in doing so, they maximize their quality of life. Now, the reason I am so passionate about sharing this life-changing information, for almost 20 years, I watched my own mother suffer from many debilitating diseases that was brought on by poor lifestyle choices. And I promised myself that I would not let anyone suffer that way needlessly. So before we jump into today's subject, I'd like to tell you a story about a mother who was cooking Thanksgiving dinner for her family. In preparing the ham for cooking, she cut both ends off the ham. Her children asked her, "Why do you cut both ends off the ham, Mom?" "I don't know," she replied. "That's how my mother taught me." Later, she asked her mother the same question. "Why do you cut the ends off the ham, Mom?" "I don't know," she replied. "That's how my mom taught me." Later, she asked her mother the same question. "Why do we cut the ends off the ham, Mother?" "Oh, honey," she said, "our pan was too small for the ham. As soon as we realized there's a bigger and better pan, we changed the way we cook the ham." What seemed to be a legitimate reason for that certain pot had over time developed into blind tradition. That which was necessity became tradition, resulting in a blind emotional experience. Now, the DNA that drives everything that we do is made up of 10 lifestyle principles effectively observed in the longest living populations around the world, like in Loma Linda, California, for instance, where the average resident lives at least 10 years longer than their American counterpart. First, I would like to ask you a question out there: what causes sickness and disease? Now, I would probably get several answers. Anything from it's heredity, it's viral, it's bacterial, etc. Well, I'd like to give you a definition that we are going to be using over the next 10 weeks. It may be a little different than what you have understood to be the definition for disease, so bear with me. Disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. I'm going to repeat that for you. Disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. Now, what the New Life Principle reveals from within the Blue Zone in Southern California was very fascinating. Influential leaders in the history of this community were profoundly unique in regards to a new way of understanding sickness and disease. Rather than disease being a bad thing, it can be seen as more of a warning sign and therefore a good thing. Now, disease should arouse an individual to make decided change to prevent further sickness or an untimely death. Now, the New Life Principles, they reveal a new approach to health that adapts to where you are in your health journey. It is modeled after the lifestyle of the longest living people in the world. Now, your health can be impacted by many different areas of your lifestyle, from diet to relationships to stress or even to sleep. Now, this means that your approach to health needs to address all areas of your lifestyle at once in order to be effective and long-lasting. Unfortunately, in today's medical world, doctors, insurance companies, and hospitals provide minimal to no education and assistance in lifestyle transformation, and most health coaches and personal trainers are just too expensive. Now, the New Life Principles will not only empower you to regain control of your health, but simplify losing weight, reducing cholesterol, or even reversing your type 2 diabetes, that you can feel like yourself again. Now, today, We're going to focus on the first principle: trust more, stress less. First, let's determine what is stress. Question number one. Stress is the body's reaction to any change that requires an adjustment or response. Next, we want to consider how a violation of the other principles of health can also lead to stress. Question number two. Live temperately is one of the principles of health that will be studied in the 7th week. Violating this principle can lead to stress, but so will violating the principles of water and nutrition. Now, what does it mean to trust more and to stress less? Trust who? Trust what? First, let's look at a video of what stress does to the body. We're going to learn that stress, anxiety, and depression are all linked.
Now more of our special series, Living to 100, where we try to unlock the secrets to a long, healthy life. NBC's Cynthia McFadden took us to the Mediterranean on Tuesday. Cynthia, what's our stop today?
Good morning, Matt. Well, you don't have to go all the way to Sardinia or Japan to find the 5 naturally occurring blue zones where people live longer than anywhere else on Earth. One of them is located right here in the U.S., an hour outside L.A. In his new book, The Blue Zone Solution, Dan Buettner reveals their secrets. And we headed west to find out what they're doing right.
Ellsworth Wareham may be 100, but he's not ready to give up the keys just yet.
When's the last time you got your license renewed?
I think it's good for another 3 or 4 years.
That's National Geographic fellow Dan Buettner riding shotgun, trying to unlock the secrets of his amazing long life.
I really don't feel any different than I did when I was, say, 30.
In fact, Dr. Wareham didn't even retire as one of the nation's top open-heart surgeons until he was 95. Buettner has traveled the globe in search of the world's longest-lived people, discovering places where they survive a full decade longer than the rest of us. He dubbed them the Blue Zones.
And that counts every bit as much as going to the gym does.
We went with him to the Italian island of Sardinia, where men live longer than any place else on the globe. But this blue zone where Dr. Wareham lives, the only one in the United States, is just an hour outside Los Angeles, in Loma Linda, California. Home to one of the largest concentrations of Seventh-day Adventists, and loaded with healthy older people.
They take their diet directly out of the Bible. Genesis chapter 1, verse 28 lays out the diet of the Garden of Eden, and the Adventists tend to follow it. They eat beans, pulses, green plants.
And while there is a McDonald's here, it's Loma Linda's grocery store that really holds their secrets.
A real sourdough bread with lactobacillus instead of yeast actually lowers the glycemic load of a meal. So you can eat this, and actually the sugars will burn more slowly than it would if you didn't eat bread at all.
There's no meat department, just stacks of beans and lots of birthday candles. It's a way of life Buettner has decoded in his new book, The Blue Zones Solution.
One of the things I like about the book is you're not wagging your finger, you're not scolding us. I mean, because lots of us have made all kinds of bad life choices.
Cynthia, if you're 99 years old and you're sedentary and you start moving tomorrow, you will add years to your life expectancy. It's never too late.
And he's been proving that across the country, helping 22 communities become more like the Blue Zones.
After 2 or 3 years, we see obesity dropping by double digits. In the beach cities, there are 1,900 fewer obese people than when we started. We see smoking rates drop by as much as 30%. We see healthier eating, more physical activity.
His next stop, Fort Worth, a beef-obsessed place with high obesity rates, stressed-out commuters, and a well-being index below the national average. Buettner will work with local leaders to blue zone the city over the next 5 years.
And people don't even realize this happening to them. It's because we set up their environment so that they're nudged all day long into slightly better behaviors.
Ellsworth Wareham says he's living proof of that.
Well, now, Tuesday, we shared with you that Canino wine, the so-called longevity wine that the Sardinians drink. Well, okay, bad news, at least for me. In Loma Linda, they don't drink at all.
Well, bring out some of yesterday's wine.
What they do have in common is this plant-based diet and a sense of community, and I think this is really interesting. They interviewed over 200 centenarians around the world, and of those 200, only 5 said they didn't have a strong religious belief. So just a little
Interesting.
takeaway.
So trust what? The answer is really quite simple. Don't trust yourself and your own ideas about what constitutes health. Trust in timeless and proven principles that science reveals clearly that lead to better health and longevity. Now, by living and trusting in principles, we will learn to stress less. Now, here are just a few statistics on the negative effects of stress. 43% of all adults suffer adverse health effects from stress. Point number 2. 75 to 90% of all doctors' office visits are for stress-related ailments and complaints. I'm going to repeat that one again. 75 to 90% of all doctors' office visits are for stress-related ailments. Stress now can also play a part in problems such as headaches, high blood pressure, heart problems, diabetes, skin conditions, asthma, arthritis, depression, and even anxiety. Now let's look at a video showing more about how stress is affecting millions.
When the body is under stress, the adrenal glands release a hormone called cortisol, also known as the stress hormone. Cortisol, in turn, causes stored sugar to be released into the bloodstream to provide more energy for the body to fight stress. Excess cortisol production is also known to make the body cells resistant to insulin.
Now, let's read point number 3. Unmanaged stress can lead to several lifestyle diseases, including high blood pressure, heart disease, and even cancer. Point number 4. Is it possible to completely eliminate all stress? Let's get some further insight on this from CBS Morning Show.
In this morning's Health Watch, secret signs of stress. We all know about dry mouth and sweaty palms, but there are hidden signals your body sends out as well. And our Dr. Jennifer Ashton is here to help us decode them.
Good
Stress,
morning, Harry.
not good, right?
It can be, and that's really one of the big myths, is that stress is a normal physiologic response in our body and our brain to a stimulation, okay? And people have heard of the fight or flight response in the body. That's usually with a threat, but any stress, whether it's a physical or emotional or psychological one, can produce a response, and for some people that might be a positive or beneficial thing. It's not always negative.
All right, let's talk about some of the different secret signs that you may not recognize, including cravings.
Yeah, cravings. Well, you know what? Desserts is stressed reversed. So think about that one. Stressed is desserts backwards.
I like it.
Okay, listen, people know when they crave comfort foods, and there's an unclear, probably complicated, intricate mechanism that goes on in the brain. Probably has to do with some carbohydrates and serotonin, which is a feel-good neurochemical.
Yeah.
But listen, you want to keep it under control.
It's a neurophysiological response.
Exactly, Harry.
Yeah,
A
okay.
little chocolate, a little ice cream might make you feel better. A lot, not a good thing.
Not such a good, and over the long term, skin problems. I think we get that, right?
This is huge. You know, the skin is the largest organ in the body. So when you have a skin problem, especially if it's severe or chronic, it comes and goes, or it's really affecting a large part of the body, you want to look at an overall diffuse body process instead of, you know, looking at that one pimple and thinking just of your face.
Right.
We know that when you're stressed, your body can trigger the release of certain hormones.
Right.
They, in turn, can cause both inflammation and increase in oil buildup in your skin. And you want to realize that it's your body telling you, I'm stressed.
Time to chill. You get sores in your mouth sometimes?
Yeah, listen, this could be anything from psoriasis, eczema, acne, cold sores. Again, you want to really listen to your body. This is your body saying, this is an overall process, and I'm showing it to you in my largest organ.
Stress. I really believe this to be true, that stress exacerbates allergic reactions.
It is true. And again, not really clear why. There is some thinking that a certain protein involved in the allergic response can be triggered when your body is stressed. If you know you suffer from allergies and you find them particularly worse at a stressful time, you want to deal with the stress, not just the allergic
Here's
reaction.
your big surprise, though. Weekend headaches. You're stressed all week, and then on the weekend?
Right. And people see this after big exams. They'll get a migraine after the event, after the test. So again, you want to, if you know that you're subject or prone to migraines or those kind of headaches, you want to take a little bit of extra TLC after the fact so that you can try to prevent it.
And then we have one here that says hair loss is a sign of stress.
What do you think about that, Harry? You never seem stressed to me.
No, never, ever. Deep down inside. Dr. Jennifer Ashton, thank you so much.
You bet.
Now, the doctor in the news clip stated that stress can be a positive or beneficial thing and not always negative. Point number 5. Stress is necessary, but it's harmful when its intensity or duration exceeds a person's capacity to react constructively. Now, what happens in the body when we are stressed? According to Dr. Walter Bradford Cannon, professor of Harvard, who coined the phrase fight or flight response, the effects of negative emotions, i.e. jealousy, hate, envy, bitterness, anger, and danger, actually create poisons, not only psychologically, but physiologically in the blood. These powerful toxic substances weaken the body's functioning as a result. That's astonishing. How to tell if you are stressed? Here are just a few. Muscle tension, restlessness, angry outbursts, headaches, anxiety, overeating, undereating, fatigue, or even a lack of motivation and focus. Now, here's another video on why stress is so harmful to our bodies. Let's watch.
To better cope with stress will improve every area of your life and every part of your body. Stress affects everything within us. Look at what stress does. You know, stress is one of those things that oftentimes starts in the brain. Your hypothalamus signals your pituitary. The pituitary then signals something called your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands live above your kidneys, and they release something called epinephrine, as well as other stress hormones commonly thought of as adrenaline. Adrenaline then affects your liver because your liver wants to increase the amount of glucose in your system. What also happens with stress hormones is your heart beats faster, your blood pressure goes up, over time increasing your risk for heart attacks, strokes, very dangerous things. But you know what? It doesn't just affect your cardiovascular system. It also increases inflammation throughout your body, including in your arteries. You know what? It even affects people's breathing, hyperventilation, and other things when you become too stressed. So, hey, what about your GI tract? People can have nausea, vomiting, stress ulcers. I know some people that when they get stressed, they actually develop constipation or diarrhea. Oh, yeah. So what you're looking at there is an animation of every single essential organ system in the body being affected by something called stress. And when 80% of Americans report feeling stress in their lives or being overstressed, this is a major problem.
And one of the things that you can't really show up there is fertility. Research has absolutely proven that stress affects fertility. So, and that's why a lot of people, when they go on vacation, all of a sudden they get pregnant.
There's definitely a difference between stress and anxiety. And the difference is stress is usually the result of a stressor. Like you said, finances, it could be marriage difficulties, work. Anxiety, to contrast with stress, is when you remove a stressor and you're still feeling anxiety. That is what we call, in many cases, a pathologic condition. That needs help. Some level of stress in your life is what gets you off the couch. It gets you to work hard. So I want to say that short-term bursts of stress can be good for you.
Now, in the video, we saw the many ways that stress and the stress hormone cortisol can affect the body. But this effect often surprises people. Point number 6. Now, as I mentioned, cortisol is a hormone that's released into the bloodstream when a person is stressed and can cause abdominal fat to accumulate. Now, did you know that your emotional intelligence, i.e. your ability to identify, assess, and control emotions in yourself, plays a role in how well you manage stress? Did you also know your overall outlook on life, whether positive or negative, content or even dissatisfied, can have a direct effect on your stress levels? Now, the key to managing stress is to look and to focus on the positives in your life. Live every day with gratitude for all that you have. What are some other causes of stress? Let's take a look. Lack of preparation has also been identified with causing stress. According to research, adequate preparation, on the other hand, can help you to avoid it. So let's take a look at our next point. Number 7. While there is a such thing as positive stress, preparation and determination are required to bring out the best in the individual. Let's watch another video.
Stress is a part of life, and it's not always a bad part of life. Most of us enjoy good stress in small doses, like roller coasters, watching sports, or even a scary movie. That's the kind of stress that keeps us young and on our toes. Then there's bad stress, or worse, chronic stress. Negative stress isn't just in your head. It can affect us both mentally and physically. Stress hormones in the body for extended periods of time can physically age our cells. So when you're stressed at work or home, your cells look and act older, making you look older and even impacting your immune system. Not only does it add years to your appearance, it can also affect your memory, making brain cells shrink permanently. Even short-term stress can make it hard for you to remember simple things. The good news is, you can manage stress now to prevent more damage to your body and mind tomorrow. Stress management is a skill that can be learned. Check out Blue KC's Tips to Manage Stress video for ways to beat stress for a longer, healthier, and happier life.
Let's look at a few other effects of stress. Point number 1. Stress produces cortisol, which increases blood pressure. Point number 2. Your stress levels influence diabetic symptoms. Mental stress can cause a rise in cholesterol. This is why lowering cortisol is key to fighting high cholesterol. Point number 4. Stress levels are linked with increased risk of cardiovascular disease. Stress also can create cortisol, which leads to abdominal obesity. Now let's take a look at our point number 8 on our list. Who do you think better handle stress? Negative people who are pessimistic, or positive people who tend to be more optimistic? Well, the answer is obviously positive people. Now let's look at how to better address our stress. Number 9. What are the 3 ways to address stress? A, to minimize, B, to manage, and C, to maximize. Since stress is biological and therefore natural, managing through exercise, refreshing rest, a proper diet, and even positive thinking. Now, in light of all that we have seen, take the challenge to count your blessings. Live by the principles of the new life. Learn to trust and to be trusted. Then you will experience less stress and more peace and satisfaction in your life. And always remember, your health is your choice. We'll see you next week.